As I told you, it's a part of his autobiography. Apart from being a notable scientist, Dr. Kalam, he was also an engineer, and he served India as the 11th President of India from 2002 to 2007. People loved and respected him so much during his tenure as a president that he was proudly known as the People's President. Due to his achievements in the field of science, Dr. Kalam had received Bharat Ratna Award before he assumed the highest office in the country. In his autobiography, Wings of Fire, he traces his various phases of his life as a son, student, scientist, and a leader. Look carefully into your text as we read on the lesson. I was born into a middle class family in the island town of Rameshwaram. My father, Jainlu Ledin, had neither much formal education nor wealth. Despite these disadvantages, he possessed great innate wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. He had an ideal helpmate in my mother, Ashyama. My parents were widely regarded as an ideal couple. I was one of their children. We lived in our ancestral house, which was built in the middle of the 19th century. It was a large concrete house made of limestone and brick at the Moss Street in Rameshwaram. My austere father used to avoid all inessential comforts and luxuries. However, I would say mine was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. The famous Shiva temple, which made Rameshwaram so sacred to pilgrims, was about 10-minute walk from our house. Our locality was predominantly Muslim, but there were quite a few Hindu families too, living amicably with their Muslim neighbors. There was a very old mosque in our locality where my father would take me for my evening prayers. When my father came out of the mosque after the prayers, people of different religions would be sitting outside waiting for him. Many of them offered bowls of water to my father, who would dip his fingertips in them and say a prayer. This water was then carried home for invalids. I also remember people visiting our home to offer thanks after being cured. The high priest of Rameshwaram temple, Pakshi Lakshmana Sastri, was a very close friend of my father. One of the most vivid memories of my childhood is of the two men, each in his traditional attire, discussing spiritual matters. When I was old enough to ask questions, I asked my father about the reverence of prayer. My father told me there was nothing mysterious about prayer. Rather, prayer made possible a communion of the Spirit between people. When you pray, he said, you transcend your body and become a part of the cosmos, which knows no division of wealth, age, caste, or creed. I have throughout in my life tried to emulate my father in my own world of science and technology. I have endeavored to understand the fundamental truths revealed to me by my father, and I feel convinced that there exists a divine power that can lift one up from confusion, misery, melancholy, and failure and guide ones to true place. I had three close friends in my childhood: Ramnath Sastri, Arvindin, and Siva Prakashan. All these boys were from Orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. As children, none of us ever felt any difference among ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. One day, when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramada Sastri. He always wore a sacred thread. The new teacher could not put up with the Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. In accordance with the social ranking, as the teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. I felt very sad. So did Ramnath Sastri. He looked utterly downcast as I shifted to the last row, which left a lasting impression on me. After school, we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Lakshmana Sastri summoned the teacher and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshmana Sastri conveyed ultimately reformed the young teacher. My science teacher, Siva Subramaniam Iyer, though an Orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative vibe, was something of a rebel. He did his best to break the social barriers so that people from varying grounds mingled easily. One day, the science teacher invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in her ritually pure kitchen. Siva Subramania Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife. Instead, he served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. When I was leaving the house, Siva Subramania Iyer invited me to join him for another dinner again the next weekend. Observing my hesitation, he told me not to get upset. Such problems have to be confronted, he said. When I visited his house the next week, Subramaniam Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. For my higher studies, I had to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district headquarters at Ramanathapuram. My father took me to a mosque, recited a prayer from the Quran, He said, "This island may have housed your body, but not your soul. Your soul dwells in the house of tomorrow, which none of us can visit, even in our dreams. May God bless you, my child." Despite my homesickness, I was determined to come in terms with the new environment because I knew my father has invested great hopes in the success. My father visualized me as a collector in the making, and I thought it was my duty to realize my father's dream. Although I desperately missed my familiarity, security, and the comfort of Rameshwaram, I tried hard to control my thoughts, my mind, to influence my destiny. I hope you children enjoyed the lesson about your former president, his childhood experience, and as he said in the lesson, living amicably with Hindus, Muslims, bring about a togetherness, a lovely atmosphere of living. He also says that highest result of education is tolerance. That's what Helen Keller says, the highest result of education. And in this lesson, living amicably, a lot of things, lovely things, personal things, Dr. Kalam conveys to us. He spoke about his childhood, about his family living a very comfortable, simple life, not luxurious life, simple life, friendly with the people he lived. And he also speaks about how the Hindu Muslim priests, how they exchanged their ideas of prayer. He speaks about his classroom experience. He says those days they were not allowed, a Muslim and a Hindu priest's son, they were not allowed to sit together. And how the teacher, through that incident, the teacher also learns to accept children. And what do they say? What Lakshmana Sastri says here? Do not put poison in the mind of children. Do not get children to understand inequality. Don't teach children intolerance. That was a beautiful lesson learned by the teacher. That's also lovely. Then he goes on to say that his teacher, his Brahmin teacher, how he takes him home into a conservative home, how he serves him meal. That was another lasting impression that made in his mind. How the teacher changes the mind, the outlook of his wife, conservative wife.